hair and dust. So we're going to be dealing with dust all the way from Africa by the end of the week. So it's actually going to get pretty hazy out there by Friday especially, and that may make for some nice sunrises and sunsets, but it's also going to make the air kind of dusty, and the air quality will probably get a little bit lower. But at least with all of that Saharan dust, guess what? That means there's a lot of dry air in place out there across the Atlantic basin. So it's going to be harder for tropical depressions, tropical storms, and hurricanes to get going. So hopefully that dust will hang around for a while, because that kind of limits the amount of development that we can get. Looking at our tropical satellite, you can see some disturbances in the western Atlantic. We've got some showers and storms, nothing looking like it's going to be organized to become a tropical system. Few disturbances, few areas of showers and storms as well in the Atlantic and in the Caribbean Sea and also the Gulf, but nothing that looks too concerning at this point. So as we put our Futurecast, our exclusive Fox weather model, into motion, you'll notice that we are monitoring a few clusters of showers and storms for parts of the Atlantic basin, but nothing that looks like it's going to turn into an area of low pressure that could develop even further into maybe a hurricane. So that is good news. So I think we are looking good. A quiet start to the 2025 hurricane season for at least the first 7 days. That is what the National Hurricane Center is calling for. At this point, things should be fairly quiet for now. That's only a week though. Hurricane season goes all the way through the end of November, so you certainly want to be prepared for the worst. Plan for the best, prepare for the worst. So make sure that you've got your hurricane gear, your emergency kit, your supplies, your disaster kit, whatever you need to get through a potential tropical system safely with you and your family. Know your evacuation zones, go over your insurance paperwork, make sure it's protected from major flooding in case your home gets flooded. And you also want to make sure that you have all of the emergency supplies that you would potentially need. Of course, portable generator, a great thing to have. If we do start to see some development out there, name storms for the Atlantic basin this year would start with the name Andrea, and then we go to Barry, Chantal, Dexter, Aaron, Fernan, Gabrielle, Umberto, all the way down to Nestor, Olga, Pablo, Rebecca, and the final name on the list this year would be Wendy. So I'm hoping we don't have to use a lot of these, but we are thinking it likely will be at least a slightly above average hurricane season. Of course, a quick review of the Saffir-Simpson scale. That's our hurricane wind scale, how we measure the wind speed and the damage potential for these hurricanes. Of course, that goes from Cat 1 to Cat 5. If a hurricane becomes a category 3, 4, or 5, that's considered a major hurricane, and that's winds of 111 miles per hour or greater. Beryl, that rolled through Houston last year, was a category 1. It was a higher end category 1 with winds around 90 miles per hour, but still you can see how much damage Beryl did. So imagine a category 3, 4, or 5 pushing through Houston. So that would do massive amounts of damage. So like I said, you need to be prepared, because looking at the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season outlook from NOAA, there's a 60% shot for an above average hurricane season for us. 30% chance for a near normal season and a 10% chance for a below normal season. NOAA officially calling for a range of 13 to 19 named storms. Out of those, they think 6 to 10 will become hurricanes, and out of those 3 to 5 major hurricanes. So that is above the average. Our average number of named storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes will be 14, 7, and 3. Another major preseason hurricane forecast came out from Colorado State University meteorologists, and guess what? They are right along the same path. They're thinking the same thing. An above average season, 17 named storms, out of those 9 becoming hurricanes, and out of those about 4 becoming major hurricanes. As far as where these tropical systems could develop for the month of June, we usually don't see a lot of action or activity during the first month of hurricane season, but if we get anything, it's usually going to be in the Gulf or the western portion of the Atlantic, right along the Atlantic seaboard, eastern seaboard of the U.S. So we will monitor all regions closely, but this is where we do have a slightly higher chance of something popping up. But like I said, at this point, not really seeing anything out there that is concerning. But once we start to get these showers and storms developing, that is when we could start to see the potential for tropical development. So of course it starts off usually as a tropical wave. That's a band of thunderstorms moving through the tropics, sometimes the first stage of a developing storm. Next, we'd have a tropical depression. That's a low pressure area with organized storms and a wind up to about 38 miles per hour. And that means we've got complete rotation around an area of low pressure. Now, when this area of low pressure starts to get more organized, then we call it a tropical storm. That's when it gets a name. The first name, like I said, for this season would be Andrea. So a tropical storm is a stronger storm with winds between 39 to 73 miles per hour, gets a name and can cause flooding and wind damage. And of course, after that, you got the full-blown hurricane. Hurricane is a powerful tropical storm with winds of 74 miles per hour or greater that can cause major damage from a wind, rain, and storm surge. So we don't want any of that, but we've got to watch things closely because we know how these things can do a lot of widespread damage. And we're not even close to the peak of hurricane season, which is not until September 10th. So we've got all of June, July, August, September, October to get through, and then of course all of November before we can say goodbye to this hurricane season. So we'll be watching it closely. Make sure to check out Fox Local to get more ideas of what you need in your emergency gear kit, and of course any updates on any tropical action that we may have.